What you're about to see today will make your blood boil. Trump's Homeland Security Secretary just personally led a military-style raid on a suburban home in Illinois, and what happened to the innocent American citizen inside will shock you to your core. You guys know I love my dog, and most people I know would take a bullet for theirs, but Kristi Noem, she killed her own puppy and was proud enough to write about it, which should tell you everything you need to know about this monster's governing philosophy. Yet somehow, what we're going to show you today sinks to an unbelievably new low. Make sure you're subscribed because what we're covering are the stories that are happening to immigrant communities and neighborhoods all around America, and you need to know. Okay, so at 5:30 this morning, or at 5:30 a.m. on Tuesday, federal ICE agents broke down the doors of Joe Botello's home in Elgin, Illinois. They used helicopters, bright lights, smoke bombs, and military vehicles to terrorize an entire neighborhood. Stay with me, because what comes next will shock you. Joe Botello is a 37-year-old American citizen born in Texas. But that didn't stop ICE agents in full military regalia from handcuffing him and dragging him out of his own home. I told them I was a U.S. citizen and that my ID was in my wallet, Botello said, but they didn't care. They treated an American citizen like a terrorist who was sleeping in their own home. And leading this entire operation, Kristi dog-killing Noem herself, climbing into military trucks and posing for cameras while American citizens were being terrorized. And wait, there's more. It's worse than you think, because let me remind you who we are dealing with here. Kristi Noem, again, is the woman who wrote in her own memoir about shooting her 14-month-old puppy because she decided it was untrainable. She literally bragged about it, killing a family member and thought it would make her look presidential. This is the same woman who turned South Dakota into a corporate playground while neglecting her actual constituents. And now Trump has put her in charge of Homeland Security, where she can inflict her own sociopathic tendencies on a national scale. Neighbors describe the scene like something out of a war zone. Mary Hornish said, "I thought we were going to war or something, and I got kind of scared." Michael Tucker, who lives across the street, called it a gross overuse of power and said it was completely uncalled for. But here's the sick part. Our government traumatized this family for Kristi Noem's photo op. The video shows her climbing into a military truck after the raid, after terrorizing an American citizen's neighborhood in Chicago, in the suburbs. Real families are suffering while corrupt GOP politicians collect sound bites and campaign footage rooted in racism. Ismail Cordova Klouf, who documents ICE activity to keep his community safe, said it perfectly. It's nothing more than a photo op. It's like they're celebrating their awful behavior. And I need you to see this next clip because it changes everything. Cut to the clip.
I spoke to that contractor over there. He was called by the homeowner to repair the damage. He says both the front door and back door are busted in. Now, Secretary Kristi Noem sent out a tweet that reads in part, "I was on the ground in Chicago today to make it clear we are not backing down." That post on X also included video showing several people being led away in handcuffs. We have witness video that was taken after a person describes hearing an explosion around 5:50 this morning. You can see armed officers shining flashlights at a door and into a window as well. Another neighbor told us about the response from law enforcement that came from the air.
Awakened at 20 to 6 by the drone of the helicopter flying overhead, circling the house, circling the neighborhood, spotlight on, right over the house. Very unusual in our usually quiet neighborhood.
Back out here live, people in the neighborhood are slowly filtering over here to see this damage. Everyone walking up to us wants to know what the people were taken into custody for. Well, according to Secretary Noem, she indicated on social media their offenses include DUI, felony stalking, and assault. We know that members of a rapid response team are walking around the neighborhood trying to be on standby in case there are any more ICE arrests. I also wanted to tell you that Representative Lauren Underwood from the Northwest Suburbs says she got debriefed by ICE recently, who told her that since September 6th, there have been 250 ICE arrests in the Chicago area. I'm Laura Victory reporting live in Elgin this morning, CBS News Chicago.
This raid marks a deliberate pattern of cruelty that defines this administration. And Noem's Department of Homeland Security has abandoned all restraint and is targeting American families directly. And that's not the worst of it yet. This is where it gets absolutely disturbing, and I need you to really pay attention to this next part. But first, I want to give you a disclosure. What I'm going to speak about next includes a dialogue on topics related to pregnancy loss, miscarriage, and infant death. If you find these topics difficult, please push pause for the next 60 to 90 seconds, should you need. Okay. Just this week, we learned that the Department of Homeland Security falsely accused a woman who suffered a miscarriage in ICE custody of being a murderer. Let me just pause there for a second and remind you that people who experience pregnancy experience a miscarriage 1 in 4 times, almost 1 in 4 times. It's almost 25% of the time. This woman lost her pregnancy at 20 weeks after they detained her, and she was forced to carry her dead fetus for 3 horrifying days. Let's zoom out for a second. Iris Monterroso-Lemus, a 38-year-old mother of 6 from Guatemala, was detained by ICE while pregnant. She miscarried at 20 weeks and was forced to carry her dead fetus for 3 days before delivering her stillborn son while a prison guard watched. She was held at the notorious Richmond Correctional Facility in Louisiana, where she alleges she received no prenatal care and had to sleep on cockroach-infested floors while starving, and was repeatedly denied medical attention despite warning guards that she was in severe pain. Rewinding now to earlier this summer, after she went public with her story, Department of Homeland Security issued a fact check. And in June, they falsely claimed that she was wanted for homicide in Guatemala and that she had received proper medical care. However, the Daily Beast investigation revealed that the murder warrant was bogus. Court documents showed a Guatemalan judge threw out that 14-year-old warrant and freed her on May 13th, 4 days after she arrived in Guatemala and 6 weeks before Department of Homeland Security made their false claim. And of course, all part of an elaborate smear campaign. The child abuse claims were misleading. The Department of Homeland Security claimed she was arrested twice for child abuse and negligence, but the county sheriff's office confirmed she was arrested once when her young child wandered out of the house, and the second arrest was just for missing a court hearing on that charge. And hospital records also contradict the Department of Homeland Security. An official hospital document dated April 29th stated that she had been admitted with pregnancy complications, by no means prenatal care, directly contradicting Department of Homeland Security's claims. And here's where it gets really dark. Currently, her fiance, Gary Bevins, who keeps their son's ashes by his bedside, has retained attorneys and is scheduled to testify before Congress in October about what happened. He also launched a crowdfunding campaign and plans to sell his home to move to Guatemala to be with her, saying that he feels ashamed to be an American. This clear and deliberate smear campaign orchestrated by the Department of Homeland Security under Kristi puppy-killing Noem is designed to discredit a grieving mother who experienced haunting and inhumane conditions in an ICE facility while in custody. Think she was done there? No. Let's go back to Joe Botello. After being handcuffed and terrorized in his own home, he and one roommate were eventually released when they proved their legal status. But 4 of his roommates weren't so lucky. For everyone who says, if you don't want to be sent to an internment camp, don't come here illegally, I'm going to stop you right there. ICE agents broke down an American citizen's door, terrorized his neighborhood with military equipment, and dragged him away in handcuffs. Also, Kristi Noem could get some content for her socials. And her response? President Trump has been clear. If politicians will not put the safety of citizens first with this administration, I will. I was on the ground in Chicago today to make clear we're not backing down. She terrorized American citizens to prove she's tough on immigration. The irony would be hilarious if it weren't so horrifying. And listen, if they can do this to Joe Botello, an American citizen sleeping in their home with proper documentation, what's to stop them from doing it to you? What happens when you lose your job because you've been in prison for days without charges? What happens to your kids when you don't come home from work and you can't pick them up because you're in an internment camp? Who pays your rent while you're locked up? What about your medications? What about your elderly parents who depend on you? How do you rebuild your life after being falsely detained? And when you're finally released, if you're released, Who compensates you for the lost wages, the trauma inflicted, the reputational damage? Your reputation is destroyed. This administration has shown it doesn't care about due process or constitutional rights or basic human decency for that matter. They care about creating fear and disastrous situations and satisfying their base's bloodlust for cruelty. The woman who shot her own puppy is now shooting holes in the Constitution, one militarized raise at a time. Today, it was Joe Botello's home. Tomorrow, it could be yours. If you want more coverage of these human rights abuses that the mainstream media is ignoring, subscribe. Hit that notification bell. We're not done breaking down and we're not done exposing this administration's cruelty. So the next time you're at the airport and Kristi Noem's face is staring down at you from every wall, remember that she shot her own puppy and bragged about it in a book. So that's who's watching you now. That's who we're put in charge.